All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the Sunshine Express. My name is Jess, and I think that this is the last of this series because we've learned so much over the last couple of videos, and you get it, right? It's pretty easy once you understand that the world is infinite, and it's really infinite frequencies and infinite dimensions internally and externally, okay? So let's return to our favorite diagram real quick. Today I'm going to tell you what the DECE method is, okay? And I'm going to share with you like the kind of tips and tricks and how to leverage it for your quantum jumping, quantum leaping, whatever you want to call it, manifestation, whatever you want to call it. Okay, because there's hard work in life, but then there's a lot of easy work in life. And if you know how to use the wavelengths, then you kind of open up this whole like other world, which is really cool, okay? So we've learned about this diagram, right? This is the quantum state. And all of these here are dimensions, and they go internally and externally, right? Remember that? So it's like a memory, emotion, trauma, dream, desire, hope, class you're taking, job you have, second job you have, relationship, partnership, pet, add it up, thing you're studying, spirituality, finances, okay? All of those are individual dimensions. And then we have this thing called the level of consciousness, right? And it's like, you can categorize this, right? So if you want to use the quantum to do like finances, it would be like, I just opened up a credit card, right? That's your level of consciousness with that. And then up here is like raising your credit score, okay? So you're kind of like going through like upgrades, okay? Essentially, like a system upgrade every time you level up. Or I like to use jujitsu, right? White belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, red belt, and beyond, right? Because there's always more to learn. In a red belt setting, you understand the physics, you understand energy, momentum, you understand angles and planes and breathing, right? That's red belt. Okay, you can see people as lines rather than actually whole humans, right? And I say that, and I'm assuming that because I'm not a red belt in jiu-jitsu, but I have a high level of mastery in other artistic concepts, okay? Or artistic art forms. Artistic art forms, that's repetitive. Anyway, so here we are. Remember in this last video, I said you're going to walk through a door and then you're going to do a system, okay? And what we're doing is we're entering through a portal or fear line, okay? We're overcoming, okay? If you're nervous to go into a networking event, you have to walk through the door, right? That's the rite of passage to get into here, okay? And then you're going to spend some time going into this networking event, and you're going to do a system. You're going to do a system, and then that's going to lead you to different dimensions, okay? We don't know which direction you're going, okay? But say you're an intern at your job, right? And you go to a networking event, okay? You can do a lateral move. You can go to a lower level of consciousness. Maybe there's a college event nearby, and you're like, yeah, I could go there, but why would I go there? Because I've already surpassed college, so I'm going to keep kind of trying to advance my career, right? So you're going to make maybe lateral moves where it's like, hey, we're going to invite you to this next networking event, okay? Yeah, okay. Maybe that's over here. Or, hey, I'm interested in you. Can you send me your resume? Oh, wow. Okay. So now I've opened this door, okay? Okay. So we're going to talk about what this system is when you cycle through, okay? This is what I have been calling the DECE method, okay? It's on the Sunshine Express website. You can go into it way more in depth there, but I'm going to also explain stuff on here that I did not explain on the website. This is exciting, okay? So I'm going to put this aside for now. and we're going to talk about the DECE method. So we're going to take everything back to the root of existence, and the root of existence is a sine wave, okay? This is a pulse rhythm. Ooh, my rhythm. Okay. This is a breath cycle. Okay. You breathe. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Correct? Okay. The DECE method is based on the breath. Okay. So the DECE method is the creative flow state for every single person on the face of the planet. It is the behavioral creative flow state for you, for me, for your neighbor, for your mom, for your grandpa, for every single person. The issue with getting to that flow state is that you're going to have fear that blocks you, okay? Think of this like a sinus infection, right? You want to take a huge breath of fresh air, right? But if you have a sinus infection, it's going to be difficult for you to take that full breath, right? These are like the little germs, right? Okay. What the DECE method is showing you how to do, it's saying, get rid of them, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. And we do it by detaching. Okay. If you study Buddhism, whole thing is about the law of detachment. And when you detach yourself from a dimension, you allow yourself, okay? You actually allow yourself to move. Okay, if you are insistent in staying in one spot in your life, you're going to stay in this dimension forever. Okay, you have to actually detach. You can call it a breath. You can call it a footstep. Okay, you're detaching every time you take a step. Okay. So, what's happening here is, let's redraw this. Say this is time. Okay, so in the DECE method, and I'll explain what it is, but you can do it slowly. Let's say this is 24 hours, okay? Or if you really understand the process, you can do it quickly. This is what we call quantum jumping. You are cinching timelines. Okay, you are collapsing timelines. Okay, what took you this long to do is now going to take you that long to do because you understand this pattern. Okay, all right. So, first one, DECE, it's 7 steps. It really looks like this. Okay, detach is an exhale. And remember, this can take as long as you want, realistically. So you're going to detach, and that's going to sound like letting go, breaking up, declutter, divorce, detach. Oh, detach is right there. Okay, so let's call it a detanglement. Okay, if we're talking about quantum entanglements, right? You're here. Okay, you're entangled with say it's you, right? And your alcoholism. Okay, your attachment to alcohol. Okay, detachment would require you to detach from that. Okay, you have to let go of this, right? And what ends up happening is, specifically in sobriety and alcohol addiction, is that, remember, you have your internal dimensions, right? A lot of these dimensions are actually quantum entangled with alcohol, right? Because the way that alcohol marketing is it's saturated you with an identity. And when I talk about going into addiction recovery, it's really more of an identity crisis than it is anything else, which is why I say do not identify as an alcoholic when you first get into recovery rooms, because then you are building your foundational identity on a core wound, and you do not want to do that. I think it's really silly. So Anyway, so you have these inner dimensions and they're all attached to here. Okay, so you're like, oh, I want to quit drinking, but you have to realize that there's probably 3,000 inner dimensions that you have to actually detach from. Or maybe it's 200, or maybe it's 150. But don't think that this is necessarily just a one-time letting go of, okay? It might be if you're already there at the edge, but you might be in a place where you're like, oh, I gotta let go of this 3,000 times, okay? And every time you do a detachment work, you get into the void, okay? The void state. And I call this lovingly the most painful part, okay? But if you think about it, if there's 7 steps and only one of them is super painful, that's not a bad deal, okay? You can sit through this. So the void is meditation, okay? It's nap time, honestly. And what it is doing, the void state, what you're really doing is you're learning how to relax your nervous system, okay? So when you relax your nervous system, you're causing no stress, okay? And what happens is this, okay? You have your consciousness, your subconsciousness, and your unconscious, okay? And all of those have little tiny behaviors, right? Or actions or thoughts or whatever, okay? In there. And what's happening in sobriety or when you do this like therapy work is you're taking those top of mind behaviors or trauma or guilt or shame or emotions or whatever the heck, or hopes and desires, and you're getting it out of your body. Remember, you're doing the meditation allows you to allow this to surface, the thoughts to surface, so you can get it out of your body, and you need a creative outlet to do that, right? So you are now making these kind of surface and come out of your body. So when you're in a relaxed state or when you're in the void, what's happening is you're allowing the doors to open and allowing anything that's stuck in the subconscious level to start floating upwards now to your consciousness, okay? This is where we do emotional processing and stuff like that because, yeah, you have some grudge that you're holding against your, high school gym teacher or whatever, and it needs to come out of there and you need to process it. Remember, you want to feel the pain, right? The most painful part, so you can transmute it into unconditional love or whatever, peace, whatever. And this is practice for alchemy, okay? You want to get good at feeling through the feelings, identifying the feelings, and then transmuting it to a higher level of consciousness, right? Oh, well, that actually, I'm actually pretty grateful because he insulted me, and then that actually made me work a lot harder. So I ended up getting first places in my swim meets in college, blah, 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 right? So we need to alchemize it to get it to a higher level of consciousness. And by virtue of doing that, remember, you're going to do it once every time that this goes around, but you can do this thousands of times in a day. DECE method, you can do it thousands of times a day, okay? So you're allowing the thoughts to come up, and then the more times you do the void state, what you're doing is you're now opening the unconscious, and the unconscious is the reptilian brain, okay? The reptilian brain, where all of the automatic behaviors to your fight and flight response, nervous responses are in the unconscious, and now these are going to float. So everything in the subconscious comes to the conscious, everything in the unconscious starts surfacing, and now you get to change those behaviors, okay? That's pretty freaking cool, okay? So you have to allow yourself to sit through the void. And this is what I'm talking about when meditation is really not taught in a proper channel or a proper way in the West, and it irritates the crap out of me. Okay, so then we get into expand, okay? Because you've done all of this, you're getting rid of the old stagnant energy that's stuck in your nervous system, and now you have room to grow. You have more room in your body, right? So we're going to start expanding, okay? New classes, new lectures, new meetup groups, new books you're going to read, new recipes you're going to try, okay? You're going to start getting an inclination to try new things, okay? That's a very good sign. That means you are, okay, you are here and stuck in these dimensions, right? Well, now you're leveling up. Okay. Now you're expanding. Okay. Into other parts of the quantum. Okay. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get into inspire or epiphany. Okay. That means your neural networks, right? You're expanding. So you're getting all of these new pieces of data and bits of information, and they're starting to connect to each other. You're like, oh, wait, this is a pattern. This is a pattern, right? Pattern recognition. And then all of a sudden, you're going to expand so much that you get, oh my God, an epiphany or your spark of inspiration. And you're like, I want to create something. And then we go into creation. Easy peasy. You know what that is. If you're, and again, like this doesn't have to be, you don't have to make a big old masterpiece because of this. This could be, I cooked breakfast. I wrote a letter today. Okay. I made a piece of art. I practiced music. Okay. That is an act of creation. It doesn't have to be this like really crazy new thing that you're doing. It can be, but it also can be, oh, I wanted to dabble around on my drum set. Okay. And so that is creation. Remember, you can do the DECE method thousands of times a day. You just have to figure out where your behavior is within it. Okay. So then what happens when you start practicing things? You level up. Okay. Your level of consciousness shifts. Okay. You practice something new. And then the last part, this E, is enjoy. And that's it. It's so easy. So enjoy. When you're up here, you're going to sustain this until you feel like naturally cleaning up some of your life. You're going to detach from low frequency energy. You're going to expand high frequency energy. Okay. Then you're going to create, and your creation is exporting, it's outputting low frequency energy into the world so it can land somewhere, so it can ground into something. And then actually, this is a mix of high frequency and low frequency energy. And then you're going to level up. And then in your high frequency, in your enjoy state, you're going to be high frequency again. And then you're going to detach from more low frequencies. Okay. So you don't even have to like try to quit alcohol. If you just do the DECE method over and over and over again, alcohol is just going to naturally become a low frequency because you're going to become more aware of your behaviors and how it's functioning in your life. And it's so fucking easy. It's insane. Okay. So every time that you go through the void, right, the most painful part and the expansion, you are overcoming fear. Okay. And so what we're doing is we're getting rid of the sinus infection. We are getting rid of the blockers of the creative process. Okay. It's so freaking easy. So let's go to, again, actually, let me bring back this diagram. Okay. So now to put into context, right? So say you want to go get a new degree, right? So let's delete that. Okay. You want to go back to school. What you're going to do is you're going to walk through the campus. You're going to sign up, right? You're overcoming a bunch of fears. What are the fears? Oh, I'm too old to go back to school. I don't know if this is right for me. I don't know what I don't know. And this is terrifying. It's going to cost me money. Is this a worthwhile investment? Blah, blah, blah. You walk through the doors anyway, right? You have now cleared some of that crap from your DECE method, okay? Okay, you walk in, and what you're going to do is you're going to cycle through the DECE method as many times as humanly possible in this one dimension. Let's just say this is just admissions, okay? Until you extract the high frequency energy, okay? The high frequency energy is the new pathways, okay? Hey, oh, I didn't know that I could sign up for being an EMT. I didn't know I could sign up for a lecture series. Okay. And now this is opening this door and this door and this door and this door and this door. Pick your path. What would you like to do? You can do all of them. You can do all of them. And then you're going to cycle around the DECE method. So every time you level up, right, you're not going to need the same paperwork that you did admissions that you're gonna need in the lecture series. So you're gonna detach from all of those paperwork. You're gonna throw them away, so you can make space for what you need in the lecture class. Okay, You're gonna go to your EMT cert, right? Okay, you're not going to need the lecture class work anymore. Maybe you will if they're in the same semester. Let's say that this is the same 3-month span of time. Okay, but you're going to take all of this new stuff and it's going to open doors, right? Okay, you're leveling up. So now what? So then you get your certification, and then you start applying for EMT jobs. Oh my God, okay. So do you still need the stuff that you went to EMT school for? Probably not. You're going to probably learn on the job, right? So you're going to detach, okay? And then you're going to circle around. You're going to go through the void. Oh my God, this is so nerve-wracking. What do I think I'm capable of? Oh my God, right? And then you're going to start expanding. You're going to start watching YouTube videos. You're going to start talking to other career EMTs, nurses, medical staff, paramedics, all that. And you're going to start learning, okay? You're going to start expanding. And you're going to start creating, okay? You're going to start leveling up. And then you're going to start enjoying the job. And then that's going to open up more doorways. You guys get it? And the thing about this is that every single person on the face of the planet has a unique pathway. No person, there's 8 billion people on this planet, no person will have the same path through the quantum twice. It is literally impossible. That is the only impossibility, is that somebody lives the exact same life as somebody else. You cannot do that. People can live very similar lives, okay? If you really like being on the Pinterest trends and, TikTok trends or whatever, and you like the beauty gurus, you're going to stay in these dimensions forever, okay? I'm over here. I'm makeup free. I don't wear makeup, right? And I don't really pay attention to beauty trends. So I don't live in that dimension. Is there valid information in there? Yes, absolutely. Okay. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's creative. But over here, where my makeup free life, I'm doing a lot of I'm not doing other creativity stuff, right? But it doesn't make either one bad or good. It's just, what do you prioritize in your life? I like having time, and I just don't care about what I look like. So beauty gurus would actually be considered a low frequency, in my life, and me without makeup and, prioritizing all my creativity efforts would be a high frequency. Okay. But people in the beauty guru space, high frequency is makeup because it's their version of creativity. And I can respect that so much. Okay. Maybe their low frequency, behavior is no makeup. Okay. That's a blank canvas. We don't like that. We want to put makeup on the face, right? So every single person's high frequency in each dimension is going to be different based on where you are in your level of consciousness. It's not to say anything is right or wrong or whatever. It is what it is. And then usually what happens is that you're going to start here, and this is going to be a new high frequency. Kind of band this, right? This is going to be your next highest timeline. You're going to get here, say it's the same dimension, okay? But then when you keep advancing, okay, this becomes your high frequency, and this actually becomes your low frequency. So I know this is kind of confusing, but the more that you cycle around and do the DECE method over and over and over again, what was previously your high frequency in a certain dimension is going to become your low frequency in the same dimension, okay? So say you go into recovery, right? In your first year of recovery, okay? Your first year of recovery is your high frequency, right? So you're going to meetings every day, you're going to therapy, blah, blah, blah. But eventually you will learn all the things, right? And so you being in the first year of sobriety would actually be a low frequency if you're in 10 years of sobriety, right? This is your 10 years would be your high frequency, right? So it's so cool. It's so fun. And when you get the dynamics down and the mechanics behind how all of the energetic universe works, you can really use it to your advantage. You get to cinch up the timelines. You get to quantum jump. You get to manifest. You can do all the things. And all you have to do is recognize when you're in detach, because then you know that the void state is coming. And when you're in the void, you will know, okay, your body will automatically start moving towards expansion. Okay, you don't have to force any of this. Okay, The stuff will come out when it's ready to come out, okay? Expand, okay? When you feel inspired, okay, I'm in Inspire. I'm in the DECE method right now. If you feel inspired and you want to create, if you're making stuff, you're already in the DECE method. You can do this as slow as you want, and you can do it as fast as you want. You can do the DECE method as quickly as your breath cycle. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. This is why I say that it's a self-generating joy machine, because when you understand that at the end of every inhale is your joy, then every part of this becomes joyful. And that is the whole methodology. Thank you guys so much.